Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling DeepSeek, that Chinese AI that's, well, it's basically everywhere you look these days.
It's true.
You sent in tons of sources, news articles, government statements, even DeepSeek's own privacy policy. So you're definitely as curious about this as we are.
It seems like it.
Is DeepSeek like a total game changer, or could it be a security risk?
Well, maybe something in between. That's what we're going to try to figure out.
All right, let's dive in.
One thing that's really interesting is how fast DeepSeek has become popular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. You know that Wired article you sent? The one that tracked their whole journey?
Yeah.
It's crazy. They went from a small startup to, like, beating ChatGPT in just a few months.
Wow.
They're now the #1 free app in the U.S. Apple Store.
It's true. And there was that report that you highlighted saying their development cost was way less than what U.S. companies usually spend on AI.
Right.
What do you think that means for the AI industry as a whole?
Honestly, I think it's a big deal. I mean, if DeepSeek can get similar results with cheaper tech,
Yeah.
it could totally change the game. It could make AI development, like, way more accessible,
Yeah.
leading to all sorts of new innovations, maybe even from smaller companies.
Mm.
But,
Oh, there's a but coming.
but, it does make you wonder, right? What are they cutting back on to save that much money?
Yeah, that's something to think about. And it's not just the tech world paying attention to all this.
Definitely not.
Governments all over the world are reacting pretty quickly, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's almost like they all got together and decided what to do.
Interesting.
Take Italy, for instance.
Okay.
They just went ahead and banned DeepSeek completely, worried about privacy
Mhm.
and the fact that the company's not really cooperating.
A complete ban. Wow. That really sends a message. So what about the U.S.? What's happening here?
Well, you sent us a bunch of different sources, and
Yeah.
it's clear the U.S. government is worried. I mean, we're talking the Navy, NASA,
Mhm.
the House of Representatives, even the Pentagon.
That's a lot of big names.
Yeah, and they've all blocked access to DeepSeek because of, national security concerns.
Makes sense. And I remember that quote you pointed out from a Pentagon spokesperson, specifically mentioning worries about data going to Chinese servers.
Right.
What are the implications of all that?
I think it comes down to this.
Hmm.
How do we balance exciting new technology with keeping our country safe?
Okay, I see what you mean.
DeepSeek's privacy policy does say they keep user data on servers in China. And, Chinese law says companies have to work with government intelligence agencies when asked.
That definitely adds a whole other level of worry to the security concerns. And you flagged that announcement from DeepSeek too. They said they were putting a temporary hold on new user registrations because of malicious attacks. What do you think about that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you think, right? Maybe DeepSeek isn't as secure as we thought. And it makes those security concerns even bigger.
Especially when you consider how DeepSeek deals with, sensitive topics. They seem to avoid answering some questions, ones that other AI platforms have no problem with. You mentioned how DeepSeek won't answer anything about the Tiananmen Square protests.
It's true. And that brings up questions about censorship and bias. Could DeepSeek be used to, like, push certain viewpoints or control what information people see? That's a pretty scary thought.
It is scary, especially when you think about how many people use DeepSeek. They've tapped into something big, and all of this is happening while there's this massive global AI race going on.
Absolutely. DeepSeek coming onto the scene has definitely made that competition even more intense.
And the stakes are high.
Huge. It's about who has the best technology, who controls what information people get, even who has the most power in the world.
It's crazy how this one app, DeepSeek, has become the center of so many big issues. Where do we even begin to understand all of this?
Well, I think a good place to start is with what you, our listener, found most interesting: the potential risks of DeepSeek storing your data on Chinese servers. DeepSeek claims they follow standard privacy rules. You even highlighted that part of their policy documents.
I did.
What do you think about that?
It's tough, right? We have these genuine worries about data privacy and what the Chinese government might do. But DeepSeek also offers a really powerful tool. It's like we're weighing the good against the bad.
It is.
What do you think, listener? Where do you stand on all of this?
Yeah, it's a hard question. There's no easy answer. But it's definitely something we should all be thinking about, because this isn't just about governments and stuff, This whole AI race, it affects all of us, regular people like you.
So, what does that mean for me? I'm just trying to keep up with all this new tech.
Well, think of it like this. Those apps you use all the time, the stuff you see online, even the gadgets you can't live without, AI is a big part of all that now. And like we saw with DeepSeek, nobody's really sure what the rules are yet.
So you're saying the future of, like, my whole digital life depends on who wins this AI race.
Pretty much.
That's a little freaky.
It is a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes us back to that question about whether we can trust DeepSeek. Is it really this big tech breakthrough? Or is it something else?
Yeah.
Some people are even calling it a Trojan horse.
Like, they're trying to trick us into giving them our data. That's a serious accusation.
It is serious. And look, we don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's something we got to consider. What if DeepSeek becomes the biggest AI platform out there? What happens to our privacy then? What about our freedom to get information? Especially if they're controlling what we see.
Right. Like, if they're censoring things like the Tiananmen Square stuff, what else are they hiding? And who gets to decide what's okay for us to see?
Exactly. Those are the questions we need to ask. It's important to remember that AI is just a tool, really. It can be used for good stuff or bad stuff. It all depends on how it's made and who's using it.
So it's kind of like DeepSeek is a warning sign. It's making us face some hard truths about the downsides of AI.
That's a good way to put it. It reminds us that just because something is new and cool technology doesn't mean it's good for everyone or that it fits with our ideas about freedom.
Okay, but what can we do about it? I mean, it feels like we're just along for the ride with all this new tech.
No, we're not powerless.
Hmm.
First off, we have to stay informed, understand how AI is being used, question where you're getting your information from, and watch out for bias.
Hmm.
People pushing their own agenda.
So kind of like what we're doing right now, right? We're taking a good, hard look at DeepSeek and everything it means.
Right. We're looking at the information, thinking about different viewpoints, and forming our own opinions.
Exactly.
The more we know about AI, the better we can decide what technologies we're okay with and fight for responsible development.
And we can push back against the people in charge. We can demand that companies be transparent. We can support laws that protect our privacy. And we can get behind groups that are fighting for ethical AI.
Exactly. We don't have to just sit back and watch. We need to help shape the future of AI.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. We're talking about technology that could change everything about our lives.
It is huge. But it's also pretty exciting. AI could totally revolutionize healthcare, education, even just how we interact with the world around us.
So there's hope, even with all the risks and scary stuff.
There's always hope. But hope without action is just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
If we want to make sure AI helps humanity, not hurts it, we have to be involved, stay informed, and do something about it.
Well said. This deep dive has really opened my eyes. It's a lot to process, but I honestly feel like I've gone from being totally lost to, I guess, cautiously optimistic?
I think that's a good place to be. The future of AI isn't set. It's being created right now. And we can all help decide what it looks like.
Okay, so let's recap. We've covered DeepSeek's crazy rise to fame, how governments around the world are reacting, those worries about data privacy and censorship, and what this big AI race means for all of us.
It's amazing, isn't it, how this one little AI app, DeepSeek, has forced us to confront some of the biggest questions of our time.
Yeah, it's made us really think about where we're headed. But the million-dollar question, maybe even the trillion-dollar question is, where do we go from here?
Now, that's a question for each of us to think about. What do we want the future of AI to be? And what are we willing to do to make that happen?
Wow. You've really given us a lot to think about. It's clear that AI is changing fast, and DeepSeek is just one small part of a much bigger picture.
And like any powerful tool, it's our job to make sure it's used the right way, ethically, responsibly.
Okay, sounds like we have some work to do. But hey, that's what the deep dive is all about, right? Breaking down complicated stuff and leaving you with even more questions.
I guess so.
But hopefully we've also given you some things to think about and maybe even made you feel like you can make a difference. Because in the end, the future of AI is in our hands.
And it's a future worth fighting for. A future worth building carefully and thoughtfully.
You know, it really is. And as we've been talking about DeepSeek and all the issues it raises, it feels like we're just scratching the surface of, the whole AI thing.
Oh, for sure. This whole deep dive into DeepSeek has actually brought us to a much bigger question, a really fundamental one.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
Well, it's this. In a world that's like more and more reliant on AI every day, how do we balance the good stuff? All the potential these powerful tools have. How do we balance that with keeping ourselves safe? Protecting our privacy, our security, and our freedom to access information.
That's a tough one. It's like we have this incredible opportunity for progress in so many areas, but at the same time, there are real threats to the things that make our society free and open.
Exactly. And the choices we're making now, as individuals and as a global society, those choices are going to have huge consequences down the road. Just imagine, right?
Yeah.
What if we just embrace AI without really thinking about what it means ethically?
I don't even want to think about it.
Well, we could end up in a future where our data is being used against us, our choices are being manipulated, and we don't even have a voice anymore. It could get really bad really fast.
That's a scary thought. So how do we stop that from happening? How do we make sure the future isn't like, some dystopian nightmare?
We have to be proactive. We
Mm.
can't just wait for things to go wrong and then react.
Okay, so what does that look like?
We need to be demanding transparency from those companies that are developing AI. We got to push for regulations that put user privacy and data security first. And we have to actively support the organizations that are fighting for responsible AI. They're the ones who are trying to do things the right way.
So it's not enough to just like use the technology. We have to get involved in shaping it, make our voices heard, hold the people in power accountable.
Exactly. And it all starts with being informed, with knowledge. We need to understand how AI is actually being used so we can make smart choices about which technologies we support.
Right, knowledge is power. But even with all that, it's still kind of overwhelming. It feels like we're standing on the edge of something totally new and we don't know what's out there.
I get it. It is a lot to wrap your head around. But just remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we're creating right now with every decision we make.
That's a good point. So if there's one thing you want our listener to take away from this deep dive on DeepSeek, what would it be?
If AI keeps developing this fast, and it looks like it will, we have to ask ourselves this. Who gets to make the rules? And how will those rules affect every single one of us?
That's a powerful thought. A lot to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. It's been really eye-opening, even if it's been a little unsettling at times.
It's been great. And hey, remember, the future's not set in stone. We can shape it if we choose to, if we get involved, if we educate ourselves, and if we take action.
Well said. It's been a fascinating journey into the world of DeepSeek and all the questions it raises about the future of AI. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.